Hello guys, welcome to week 1 of this projects course. Today we will learn about Google Sheets and how to use it to manipulate and analyze real-time data. The data I'm going to use here is my actual travel expenses for the years 2022 and 2023 where I've been to different countries. Let's dive right into the video and learn more about Google Sheets. So this is the data set we are going to work with. It's in fact my original data. I always want to showcase original data and we can do some analysis on it. That's always interesting. So this is like the date. This is the country where I've been to. This is the city. Then I have something called as cost. Let's say this is in euros. There's a column called category ID, right? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 9, all these numbers. What this is, for this sake, we have a second table called category. So as you see, category ID, each of them signifies a specific area where I have spent money, right? One is breakfast. For instance, 7 is some entrance ticket to some place or some museum or whatever. 10 is like something that has been done with shopping and so on, right? So we have two simple data sets, and now we are going to solve some questions using Google Sheets, right? Like plenty of questions, plenty of concepts and topics we are going to do. So let me directly jump into the question list. We'll try to crack them one by one, right? This will be great practice for you. We are going to cover a wide array and range of functions as well. So first of all, find the unique values for each of the columns and show us how to count the unique values, right? So unique values for each of the columns, what is the formula you can use? I'll just show you for one specific column. Let us say I want to find the unique countries that I've been to, right? I've been to a number of countries. So how I can do that is using the unique function itself. So you can say unique and just select the full range, right? B2 is to B128. So now I get the unique names of countries that I've been to, right? Around 8 countries. So suppose I want to count the unique countries, what we can do, the only difference in the formula is you say count unique and you will select the same range. Okay. So now I'll get 8. Why? Because I've been to 8 unique countries, right? So if you put unique, you'll get the actual values. If you say count unique, you'll get the number of unique values, right? Same way, if we have to do the same thing for another example, let us say city, I can simply say unique, open brackets, and select the different column, right? So I can select this, and you see I've been to so many different cities, right? Basically, I've been to 12 different cities across 8 different countries, right? So unique is a powerful use case. So do remember that, and when you want to count unique values, use count unique function, right? Very, very relevant. So we have done first question. Now next question comes, how can you combine the category table with the original data? So I have category table here where I have the actual name of the category. How can I combine it with the original data, right? Maybe I'll just insert one more column here just to kind of create some space. So how can we combine these two? So I have category ID here and I have category ID here, right? They are the same common column. Now we can join these two data sets using the Vlookup formula because we have a common matching column, right? How can we do that? So I can add a new column and I will call it category itself. So I will simply say Vlookup. I want to look for this category ID value. Where do I want to look for it? I'll go to this table. I will select this range, right? This is the range where I want to find. In this, which column do I want to look for? I want to look for the second column, right? Because second column has the actual value of the category and I want an exact match. So I'll put false, okay? And also remember, for the whole formula range, I want this to be fixed, right? Always I'm going to refer to the same A2 to B14 range. So I will just lock it with the dollar. And now I get, okay, category ID 1 means breakfast. And now let us say I can just go here and double click the plus. I will get the formula copied accordingly, right? So for example, 5, category 5 means for travel, right? Basically for flights. Let us just double check. So 5 is travel, okay? Now we have the column category also in our original data. We managed to integrate it with a simple VLOOKUP function. Very, very powerful function. Next question, what is the total cost spent on breakfast overall? There are multiple ways to do it. I'm going to teach you a simple way using Sumif. Okay, so let me go here and like only for break first I want to count the cost, right? So what I can do, for example, I can write break first, okay, and I can say sum if, right, what is the range, right, where I want to check for the criteria. I want to check this column, so I'll select this complete thing, okay. The second thing is the actual criterion, right? What is the criteria? I want it to match with break first, so I will select this, and in the case it matches, I want to sum the values in this column, right? So I just select that and leave it, okay. So I noticed that for breakfast alone, overall spent around 400 euros, right? Simple use of Sumif, right? So if we want to verify this, for example, we can simply put a filter, right? Let us just filter out breakfast. This is just to cross check. So I'll filter out breakfast and I can see the total cost. As you see, the sum is coming to 400. So overall, across all these tips for breakfast, I have spent 400 euros. So I'm going to just remove the filter. This is a powerful use case of Sumif, very good function to know. Okay. Next, total cost spent on travel for Spain. Okay, there's an extra twist here. There are two conditions. Okay, so travel is one column and also specifically for country Spain, right? So in this case, what we can do, we can use a sum ifs function. We want to give multiple conditions, right? So for instance, I will just write these two words here, right? For example, I can write Spain and travel, and now I will use a sum ifs function, right? So I will say sum ifs. Here the first thing is the sum range, so I want to sum this range, okay. And now criteria range number one, right? Criteria range number one is basically country, so I'm going to select b2 to b128. What is the first criteria? I'm going to select if that ever matches the value here, which is Spain. And then criteria range 2. Criteria range 2 is basically the last column, right? Basically our category column. And what is actual criteria 2 here? Criteria 2 is actually if it matches travel, okay. And I'm going to close, and I get the value as 768, right? So 768 is the amount I've spent on travels to Spain. If you see here, it's a 280 here on a trip to Mallorca, and there's one more Spain, Madrid, where travel was 488. If you add them up, you'll get that number. So that is the answer. So sum a column here, in the case cost column, but based on multiple conditions. Country must be Spain, at the same time the category must be travel, okay. Another useful use case, I would say. Then how many rows are there in the data that have category as travel, okay. So we want to count the number of rows here. So this is a simple use case of a countif function, okay. So I'm simply going to say count if. So this is the range. Again, I want to check in this range, right? I'll select them all, and I want to make sure how many of them equate to travel, right? So I have the word set up here already, so I'll just click that cell, and as you see, there are 11 times in 11 rows there is some cost associated with travel, right? Simple use case of the countif function, okay. Moving on to the next one, find the month of the date using a calculation in a new column. So in this data we are given month, right? How can we find the we are given the date, how can we find the month, right? I'm just going to show a dummy formula here how you can do it. There's actually month function itself directly, and you just select month of date, okay, and you close it, you get 12, right? So this is December 24th 2022, so month is 12. So it gives an auto suggestion. If you want, you can drag the formula. Just going to remove it for now, but you can use the month function as you see for that question. Next question, use an if formula to show wherever costs greater than 100 are expensive, the other value should be shown as cheap, okay. So I'm going to go back here, right? So let's call this column like price or something like that. So if it is greater than 100, so I would say if this value is greater than 100, right, then it is expensive. Very simple. Otherwise I'll call it cheap, right? As simple as that, and close the bracket, okay. So 20 is obviously less than 100, so it's cheap. I'm going to drag the formula. So this is 230, obviously it's expensive, and so on, okay. Easy use case of a simple if function. Many a times you might use this in your job as well, okay. Moving on to the next one, show a pivot table for average cost per country, right? So what can we do? I'm going to just select the whole range, right? All the rows and columns. And now I'm going to just say insert pivot table, and I'm going to put it in a new sheet. Going back to the question, average cost per country, right? So in the rows, I can add country, right? Here it is. And then in the values, I can add the cost, right? I don't want to show the sum. I want to show the average. I will select the average. So then I get the values, right? So as you see, average cost per country, um, Colombia, it's, yeah, around 164. Other countries are like slightly lesser, right? What could be the reason, right? If we were asked to investigate one step further, why this number is high? If we go back into the data and deep dive a little bit, you see mostly cost is like this. Travel is maybe 200, 300, and so on. But if we notice specifically for Colombia, travel itself costs 2600 euro, right? This is the flight ticket. Going from Europe to South America is quite costly, and this is the anomaly, right? This is the reason why the average for Colombia is high, right? You notice this is very high. This is the reason. You need to be able to investigate and find reasons like that, because there is a abnormal value. You should be able to find out what is the root cause of that abnormal value, right? This is an additional thing you could do for this question. Then simple calculation. How would you display the first two letters for each country, right? So I have the country as a column here. How can I display the first two letters for each country? For example, for Austria, I want to show AU. We can use a simple text function called left. So I would say left. I would select the string, which is this, and just say 2, right? That will just show the first two letters. So if I copy the same formula, for instance, for here, for Slovakia, you see you will get ESL, right? Very simple use case of left function, very powerful function, text function. Moving on, write a function to find or check if a city name contains the letter V. Okay, what can we do for this case? So I'm just going to copy this data up to price, and I'm going to go to a new sheet and just paste special, like basically the values. So now if we want to check if the letter V is there in the word or not, we can simply use a find function. Okay, I'll write find. So I want to search for the letter V, and where do I want to search for? I want to search for in the I think it was city or country. Let's just go back here. Yeah, it is for the city, right? So if it shows value, obviously it's an error, because yeah, it is not able to find it, right? So if I drag this formula down, you can see Bratislava has the letter V. None of these have anything. Plitvice has the letter V. So the interesting thing to note here is Vienna has the letter V, but it has a capital V, right? That is the reason it is still showing a value error, which means it cannot find V. So let us convert this into a capital V and see. Then we get the value 1 because it is able to find a capital V in Vienna, right? So remember, there's a differentiation between the small letter V and the capital letter V if we want to showcase. Next one, formula to show the second, third, and fourth letters of the column category, right? I'll go to this new sheet, second, third, and fourth letters, right, of column category, which is here. So what we can do is we can try to use the mid function. So I'll say mid of this particular string. Then I want to start from the second letter and then show the next three letters. So I will put 3. So in breakfast, I'll get second letter, third letter, fourth letter, which is REA. Now I can drag the formula down. For lunch, you will get UNC. For dinner, you will get IANN. Travel, you will get second, third, and fourth is RAV, and so on. Okay. Another useful function to know, mid, right? Very relevant. Moving to the next question, which country cost the most money overall according to the data, right? Which had the highest cost? So for this, again, we can just select everything, right? You can go to the pivot table and say create a pivot table. So again, I'm just going to select country, and then I'm going to select in values cost, right? The total cost, right? As you notice here. And then after that, what can we do? Just think about it. So if you notice here, we want to arrange it by sum of cost but descending, right? So what can we do? We can go here and select sum of cost. Okay, this should work. And then we notice, of course, total cost wise, Colombia and Peru are on the top, right? Overall cost wise, these two are the most expensive, right? Let me move to the next question. So we are done with question this one, right? So conditional format rows which have country as Spain with red color, date before 12th July 2023, right? Any date that is before 12th July 2023 with blue color. Okay, so let us try this. I'll go to the original data. So country as Spain, right? How can we conditional format? Let me go here, format. I'll say conditional formatting. So for this whole set, I want to apply a rule. Let us say text is exactly, and then I will write Spain, and I want to do red color, right? So I'll select red color, and the rule is written and it's done. Okay, so that means Spain is quoted red, right? Let's see if there is some more Spain later. Yes, it's also given red color, right? That's perfect. Okay, let us move on to the next one, which is for the date, right? So what they are asking us is anything before 12th July should be blue color. So for example, let me select one date. I'll go to format, conditional formatting, and I say, for example, this cell, and I can say custom formula, right? This is cell A2. So I'll say if this is less than, I will use the date function. Okay, so date 2023, July is the 7th month, 12, right? Anything before that, please quote it with blue color. Okay, and I will say done. So by doing that, yes, this is before 12 July 2023, it is blue color. And what I can do, I can format paint and just drag it along all the way down to the end of the data, right? Like this. And I have stopped here, and now let's see which all got blue color. So as you see, all this date is 13 December. So up to any date before 12th July, which is like up to 10th July, got quoted with blue color. Okay, this is how you can do conditional formatting for a particular column in Google Sheets. So that question is done. What was the highest value of cost in that given data? This is a simple one line formula. So you can say maximum of the value of cost in this column, right? Which is the full E. So I presume it will be 2600, which I already showed you, right? I think it's the travel that happened with, if I remember right, it'll be in Bogota, like Colombia. This is what it is. Okay, moving on to the next question. Which category cost the most money in Peru? Here, instead of calculating, I'm just going to go through the data, right? Because there's not a lot of rows for Peru. If we scroll down, we see plenty of combinations here. So what can we probably do? We can try to maybe do the pivot table again. So I'm just going to select everything, right? These columns, and I'm going to say insert pivot table. Okay, the first thing I want to add is I want to add a filter for country. That's the first thing. Here we can select what we want to show. I'm going to clear everything and I just show Peru, right? So it's data only for Peru. Now coming to rows, what can we add here? We can add the category, and then in the values I can add total cost. Okay, so I have these values. Now order by, I can say descending sum of cost. Okay, so now I notice again with respect to Peru, to an extent we can see that travel is probably the costliest, right? And how do I know this is only Peru? Because here I've selected only for Peru. Okay, so travel is costing around 960, right? That's probably one of the most expensive. Now let me move back. Now they're asking, can you create a drop down list of cities and show the total cost of a particular city depending on the city selected, right? So for this, what we can do, I'm going to copy all this. I'm going to go to a new sheet, right? I'm going to paste special. I will say values only, right? Now they want a drop down of cities. How can we do a drop down? For that, we can go to data validation, right? We can add rules. But before that, we want to find the unique values of cities, right? That will make our calculation easier. So I will write unique and I will select the full list of cities, right? As a first step. So I have the list of cities. From this, I can generate the drop down. Now I can go back to data validation. I can say add rule. And then from here, I'm just going to say drop down from a range. Okay, so it's going to apply to basically this cell over here, right, which is I3, which is written here. And now drop down from a range I'm selecting, and what are the values? So I want to select all these values. Okay, I'm going to click OK and say done. Now let's close. Okay, so now I have the city, and now it's a simple matter of writing a Sumif function. Okay, I'm going to say Sumif, then I'm going to say, for instance, city range. So I'm going to select everything, right? And what is the criteria? If it is equivalent to the one we have in the drop down, which is I3, then please show the total cost. So there's some range of this column, which is column E. Okay, so it's 143 for Bratislava. Now if I change it to Berlin, it's 144. Banja Luka is 281, and so on, right? If I change it to Plitvice, it's 252, and so on, right? The total cost depending on the city selected, right? We did data validation, created a drop down. How many unique months are there in the data? How can we find this? So to find this, what we can do, I mean, we have so many months here, right? So we can first try to find the month. So I'll insert one column to the left again, right? Let me say month. And then, as you all know, we can put a simple formula, month of date, A2. That's done. I'm just going to drag this. Okay. And now from this column, I can simply write count unique, right? To count the number of unique months, write the formula with the right spelling. And I want to do it for H2 to H128, and then that's it. So we have only 4 unique months. It's a little bit weird. Let's check. We have 12, 1, 6, 7, and again 12, right? More or less, yeah. So you have December, if you notice, then you have July, June, then yeah, January, there is there, and then again December, right? So the count unique values says that it's only 4. So 12, 1, 6, and 7. Okay. Then moving on to the next one. So this is a bit more complicated, I think. They want us to create a grid with countries on the one side, categories on the other, use an index match to showcase formulas to display the total cost depending on a combination. This question seems very, very clumsy, but let's break it down and see what it actually means, right? So for this question, what I'm going to do is, so they're asking based on countries and then categories and the total cost. Okay, so easiest option I can think about is, first I will create a pivot table as usual. I will say insert pivot table in a new sheet. Okay, now step number 1, I will bring country to rows, then I'll bring category to columns, and then for the values I'll click and say sum of cost. Okay, so this is done. Now we have for all the different categories the thing. So now they want us to create a drop down, right? So this is going to be a bit tricky. So let us say I will have Austria here, for example, right? Just to show you a simple example. Then let us say I write dinner here. Okay, so now for Austria, for dinner, what was the total cost, right? If we see the grid, we see the value 12. How can we use index match to show this automatically, right? So what we can do, we will have to use formulas, right? First I will try to match, okay, the value of Austria and see over in this grid which row does it match to. I'm going to select all this, and now I will get it matches the first row, right? Because Austria comes in the first row. So if I were to change this to Bosnia, then it will show second row, because in this list of values Bosnia comes in the second row, right? So this is one value. The same match I will use to see where does dinner come in this full list of categories. So I can say match of dinner, right? And now I want to compare it with this list of categories. So I'm going to select all these values all the way up to travel. Okay, and I put a 0 because I want an exact match. So it shows that dinner is the second column, right? If I were to, let's say, select game, then it would be the fourth column, right? Because breakfast, dinner, entrance, game, right? So let me move it back to dinner. So now I have where it comes in the country, like which row, and where it comes in the category, like where is the column basically. Now what we can do, right, once we do these two steps, we can use the index function, right? And now what we need to do is we have to select the whole range, right? just select the range of the 13 columns and the countries, right? No need to select the grand totals. Selecting the whole range, and in this we need to put 2 comma 2, right? That was the value we had. We get 40, right? So instead of 2 comma 2, I can substitute it with this cell values, which is B19 and C19, right? So I'll make it B19. I'll make this C19. Now I get 40. So for Bosnia for dinner it costs 40, right? Let us say now I change it to Peru. So for Peru, so this value has changed. So Peru for dinner it costs 189, right? So now the grid changes automatically. If I change dinner to entrance, for Peru for entrance, right? For Peru for entrance it costs 200 and we get that value. Now our value is dynamic. So you need to match the column and the row and then put it into an index function for the whole array, and then accordingly based on the row and the column your value will automatically change, right? Cool use case of index and match. Moving to the next question, 21st question. Can you use a filter function to showcase only data when country equal to Colombia? Right. So what I'm going to do again, I'm going to copy this, right, the whole data. I'm going to put it in a new sheet. Okay. I'm going to paste special. So filter function to show only the information when country is Colombia, right? So for this, we can use a filter function which is directly there in Google Sheets. I'm going to say filter, right? So let us say I want to filter the whole range of data. So I'll select everything, right? And what is the condition that I want to apply? I want to apply it for this column, right? Basically country column, and say whenever this is equal to Colombia, we can write like this, right? So filter, what is the range you want to show, then which column you want to filter, and what is the criteria. Here it has to be equal to Colombia. So I'm going to write like that. Now you notice I got, like, with just one formula, it's an array formula, I got all the rows just for Colombia, right? Basically Colombia, and in that there was only one city, which is Bogota, right? Super powerful function filter. So definitely learn it. Very good to know. Moving back to the questions, they're saying use text join function. Maybe this is new for us, to show cities separated by a hyphen depending on the name of the country, right? For one particular date of your choice, right? This seems very confusing, So let us maybe go back to the data, right, over here. So they are keen to select one particular date, right? So for example, let us select just 24th December, right? There's only Austria in here, but I will still copy this to a new sheet. Okay, so for this date, for the particular country, right, showcase all the cities separated by a hyphen, right? So in this case, Austria has only one city, right? How can we apply this function? How can we apply this? So you will have to say text join, okay, and then you want to separate them by a hyphen, you put that first. Then if you want to, if there is empty values, if you want to ignore, you can leave it blank. So I'm going to leave it blank. And then what do you want to showcase? So I will basically put a filter formula here. Say, so here I want to basically showcase the city, okay, and the criteria is this thing should be equal to a particular country, right? Austria, for example. Let's see what we get. So I get Vienna separated by hyphen, right? Just like that. Hypothetically, if I had something else like Salzburg or something, then as you see, I'll get Vienna, Salzburg, Vienna, right? So essentially, this is what it is. If we want to test this formula on a better data, I can also go back to my previous sheet, right, and grab some other data where I have multiple countries, right, multiple cities. Like Peru has Lima on the different days, Cusco on a different day, Machu Picchu on a different day, right? So maybe I can just grab some of this to just show you. So I'll just copy all this, come back to sheet 7, right? Let me just paste it again here like this, right? So the columns are not sorted. Let me just delete them for now and also remove this column. Now what I can do here, if I have to do text join, I could do the same thing, right? Text join, delimiter here is the hyphen, then I'm going to ignore the empty and the text. So I can, as usual, put a filter on a filter for this, and then I'm going to say based on the criteria, that is this is equal to Peru. Okay, now I'll get Lima. Basically all these city names, they're coming in an order, and hyphen is there to separate each of them, right? That is the whole purpose of this question. So good function to know text join. It's not so complicated but not commonly used also, but it's good to know. It's like an add-on question. Which country costs the highest money for travel, right? So I think we did a kind of similar question somewhere. So let's go back to one of the pivot tables. So here I have sum of cost, right? So like let me go back to edit. Which country cost the highest for travel, right? So here I'm gonna not going to show only one item. I'm going to select everything. Okay, and then let me just remove country from here, right? Here I will add a category, right? So I want to see only for travel, right? So I'm going to clear and select only travel. That is step number one. Okay, and actually here in the rows I'm going to remove category and I'm going to add country, right? And now the filter is only applying for travel. As you notice, which country costs the highest for travel? Again, it's Colombia, 2600. As we can see, we can also sort and see, but yeah, it costs the most for travel. I think we did a similar question before. Insert a pie chart to show cost breakdown per category, right? So I can go back to pivot table 7. Cost breakdown per category. So what can we do? I'm just going to remove the filter here, and instead of country I can add cost breakdown by category. So I have this, so I can now simply select this full thing, right? And I can say the chart, and we get pie chart, right? So we get the percentages. Stay cost 19.7%, travel was the most expensive 57%, breakfast 4.8%, dinner 4.6%, and so on, right? Simple pie chart can showcase, okay, which cost the most in a very visually appealing format. Then translate the word travel into Spanish, right? So here we can use a Google Translate function itself. So I'm going to say Google Translate. What is the text, right? The text is travel. I'm going to put that source language, right? I want to translate it from English. Obviously, this is English to Spanish. Spanish will be ES. So if I translate this, I get viaja. Like J sounds like a head sound. So that means travel, right? So you can do that. Cool. So we have done that. Let's move to the next question. Display total cost spent per month, right? Remember, December was there in 2 years, but they are looking at month level. So we can use the same month, although it was different years. And let us see, right? So what can we do? We can maybe go to the original data again, right? So I'm going to simply say insert. First, let me copy this to a new sheet, right? Because I want to do the month calculation as well. Um, Let me just say paste special, right? I just want to paste the values. So I'm going to do month and say month of this date. Okay, and then drag the formula. So step number 1. Step number 2, select them, insert, pivot table, create. So rows will have month, then values will have sum of cost, and then percentage of total, right? So for that, here you can see values is shows as, you can select percentage of column, then that will show, okay, 80% of the cost came from December, right? This is an easy way to do it. Okay, let's move to the next question. How many days were spent in Spanish speaking countries, right? How do we know which is Spanish speaking? This like needs some basic knowledge. So here I know, for example, Spain, Colombia and Peru are the Spanish speaking countries, right? So what can we do? I can again copy this data and put it into a new sheet. I will paste special. Okay, then I can put a filter and only select Spanish speaking countries, right? What is those? Peru, Spain, and Colombia, right? So these are the dates. Now count the unique days, right? So I'll simply say count unique of this, right? So now I have the filtered data. Let's say I can copy this and put it into another new sheet, right? So now here I have only Spain, Peru, and Colombia, right? Now I can find the unique number of days. So I can say count unique of this column basically. So there are about 22 unique days I've spent in these Spanish speaking countries, right? That is there. Then concatenate country and city separated by a hyphen, right? This seems a simple question. How can we concatenate country and city? So let us go to the original data again, or this column, for example. I'm going to remove the filter again, right? Concatenate country and city. So we can do it two ways. You can use concatenate this one, which is country, then put a hyphen and then select the city, right? This is option number 1, Austria hyphen Vienna. Option number 2 is you can select this, put an ampersand, then hyphen, ampersand, and then the city C2, right? So either use ampersand or you can use concatenate function. Both are going to work to do this. Then how do you remove duplicates from the country column? So this is also very straightforward. If I go back to the original data, let us copy the country column into a new sheet. So I'm going to space special values. So now if I want to remove duplicates, I can get to data cleanup, remove duplicates. And now I get only the original countries, the unique countries, which is 8: Austria, Slovakia, Germany, Spain, Bosnia, Croatia, Colombia, and Peru. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We have managed to solve all the questions. I'll post this sheet also in our description. Have a look at it. Just to finish off, suppose some of the formulas you're not aware of, right? You can obviously use ChatGPT. So I'm going to show you some interesting examples where even if you don't know the formula, how you could leverage ChatGPT. Let us take simple example of that Google Translate question for travel. So you can write me a Google Translate function in Google Sheets to convert the word travel from English to Spanish. Okay, simple example. ChatGPT will probably give you the formula Google Translate function. Says travel en and es, right? En is English, es the target language is Spanish, right? So a simple level it can easily teach you things like this, right? If we are to just give it one more scenario, for example, here I have like the data, right? Let's say country is in column B, cost is in column E. I want to find only the total cost for country Spain, right? We want to do Sumif, but let's see if we can generate that using ChatGPT, right? I have column B as country, column E as cost. Write me a Sumif formula to show only the cost when the country column has value, let's say Spain, right? And it's going to give a simple Sumif formula. It's assuming there are headers, so it simply says Sumif B is to be Spain and then do the cost of that column, right? So if I can copy this code, come here and paste, that's a double equal to, let me just remove that. You see we get 1747, which is kind of the cost for Spain. Okay, so if you're not aware of the formula also, you can use ChatGPT. Please remember that, give the right prompts and you will learn the formulas. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again in another project. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us for more videos. There are more topic related videos like this with projects on SQL, Python coming up. Stay tuned.